Tonight on This Week in NASCAR, Talladega deals a deck of wild cards.
Trouble coming into the trioval.
This is definitely big.
Regan Smith dives to the inside of the track. He's got the advantage coming down to the line.
Tony Stewart has won the race.
Next, it's Homeward Bound. Plus, go behind the scenes with Spotter 88.
All right, get ready. Break.
Greg Biffle, Michael Waltrip, and yours truly break it all down for you next on This Week in NASCAR. This Week in NASCAR is presented by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. And hi, everybody. Steve Byrnes here for This Week in NASCAR. Michael Waltrip and Greg Biffle with me. And you'll have to excuse them as the T's rolled. They were still flinching. We told you it would be a wild race, but that was wild even by Talladega standards. Greg, we'll start with you. Both of you actually looked like you were going to be players at the end of that race. Just didn't happen.
No, it didn't. You know, we had a great car, and the guys did a good job with 3 and Ford Fusion, working on it all day. Made some adjustments. You know, we stayed in back for a while and then worked our way up, worked on the outside, and, you know, just unfortunately right there at the end, we, you know, Carl wasn't quite lined up with us and hit me in the bumper cover and turned us sideways and, you know, triggered that big wreck. But, you know, we were just that close.
Greg, did you talk to Carl after the fact about what happened? You know, it seems like I have a hard time pointing fingers at guys when you're running at those kind of speeds in those conditions. He said in the post-race interview, or actually after it happened, he said, I usually try to avoid idiots. This time, it was my fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really criticize somebody for trying to help you. But he did make a mistake, and, you know, I don't know what else we can say about it. You know, I mean, it's just the way it happens. We're out there trying to go fast as we can go. After I looked at the tape, I clearly see what happened. He wasn't quite lined up perfectly with my car. And these cars have a little bit of radius in the front and rear bumper, and when it hit me, it just notched the back of the car sideways and spun us out. But, you know, I mean, it's we pick up the pieces and go to Charlotte.
Well, and as you said in your interview, it's Talladega. We kind of expected. And, Michael, you had that Napa Toyota out front, and it looked like, just like in May, you were going to have a shot to win. And I was watching the bumper cam, and thought you were past it, but it caught you.
Well, if you look at the crash, Harvick made it way through the crash. And I got on the apron in a hurry and felt really comfortable that I'd missed most of the wreck. But Harvick's car just hits and then takes a dead left. I mean, it was crazy how abruptly his car went to the left. And so I didn't know how I got hit. I just was thinking I was clear, and got clobbered.
You had come in pitted. Did you feel like you were in a position to make a run to the front? Because you were at the front.
Yeah, but here's what you look at, Steve. We decided to pit just to get 2 tires from the lead. Montoya was second, and when they threw the green flag and had that big crash, he was in the crash, and I was in the middle of the field, and I got in the crash. So you rarely can second guess or figure out what would have been better or worse. But I was just real proud of my team. I mean, we took a big piece of tire to my roof during the course of the race, and the team repaired that, and I was able to get back to the front. And I really was confident. I told my team 2 or 3 times. They said, you want to stay out here and gain 5 points? I said, no, I'm going to lead this race. I will get to the front before it's over, and we did, and felt real good about a chance to win the Napa car, but it didn't happen.
All right, let's take a look at the headline. Of course, Tony Stewart gets the win, his first of 2008, but a lot of controversy. Should Regan Smith and that 0-1 have been given the win? He went across the finish line first. Guys, there has been so much written and said about the way that race ended as we take another look at it. Michael, I'm curious, your thoughts first.
Well, Tony Stewart's a hero, you know, and Regan Regan's a guy just trying to get, he's a rookie trying to get his feet wet. So he did clearly go below the yellow line, and we've read a statement from Owen Kearns saying that when you can see the checker flag, all bets are off. And be interesting to set in Regan's car right there at the point when he went down on the flat and see if he could have seen the checkered flag or not. In NASCAR's judgment, he couldn't, and he made a move that was not allowed. And it's that simple. I don't see why it's so controversial. They said, you know, in their opinion, they make the rules and they enforce the rules, and we need them to do just that. And in their opinion, when he went below the yellow line, he couldn't see the checker, therefore the pass was not allowed.
Well, we've got a lot of emails on the topic, so let's change things up and go to our Z-Max Fuel for Thought and get Greg Biffle's comment on this. Greg and I talked a little bit about this. What's the difference between what Regan Smith did and what Johnny Benson did in 2007 at Daytona? Benson wasn't penalized because if you quote, if you can see the checkered flag on the last lap, anything goes, as Michael said. That came from Owen Kearns, who's headed PR for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. This is Daytona in 2007. Benson's in the red truck, the 23. Clearly both left sides below the yellow. And then, Greg, here's what happened yesterday.
Well, there's two things that you got to think about here. In the driver's meeting, they make it clear that you cannot force somebody below the yellow line. And the thing that I feel like Regan got robbed is he went to the top to try and pass Tony. Tony moved up and blocked him, which Tony's leading the race. He needs to. Regan goes to the bottom, gets a fender inside of Tony. Tony then comes all the way back down across the racetrack from 2.5 grooves up, forces him down on the yellow line.
Which NASCAR said you weren't supposed to do either.
You can be penalized for forcing somebody.
They did not say you will be.
You can be.
Right.
So Tony forced Regan below the yellow line. Now Regan didn't just try the inside. He tried the outside, then the inside. And that's where I say, okay, he probably got his fender in there. But what he needed to do is wreck Tony in front of the entire field. And you know, in the tri-oval, he's going to collect all those cars. That's the message that we sent him, is don't give him the position, stay there, turn him sideways, and make him go flipping through the grass on his roof. And that's what's going to happen from now on. If I'm in that situation, I'm going to wreck him and turn him down through the grass if NASCAR's not going to do what they say they're going to do by penalize the guy for forcing him below the yellow.
I will just tell you that wouldn't have gained me one spot, though, so I'm glad he didn't do that.
So, but wait a minute. So you're on board with the call. You correct call that Tony Stewart gets the win, right? That's what
I am. I think that it's okay for Tony to block on coming to the checkered, and I feel like that if Regan could have seen the checkered flag, I mean, we can't get in his car. Can we get in his car and see if he could have? If he could have seen it, then I would say.
Well, you're assuming he couldn't see it.
I'm assuming he couldn't see it, and I'm assuming that's why NASCAR made that call.
Right.
I don't see him ever just making stuff up. I see him pretty much calling a ball, and a strike, and that's a ball and strike call. And they said he couldn't see the checkered flag from there, and he went under the line. That's where
what about forcing a guy below the yellow line? When do you think that should be implied?
Well, I think it's a choice of the guy that gets forced. Like you said, he had the ability. He was far enough in there. He could have stayed on the track. And so therefore he was forced, but he didn't have to be forced.
Right.
And
so I'm saying if NASCAR says you could be, at what point would you say?
I think 30 laps into the race, if you're alongside some guy and he pinches you down, darn, throw the black flag on him and get him to the pit. But when it's coming to the checker, you got to be a little bit subjective with what all you see right there, and you got to call it in a hurry. And in that case, Tony did force him down, but Regan went down.
Yeah.
He could have quit going down, and like Greg said, caused a heck of a crash. Regan. How you say his name? Regan?
Regan.
Yeah.
I said it wrong a moment ago. It's
right.
Regan.
Well, I felt like NASCAR made that rule so that we wouldn't have that wreck. That Regan said, no, I'm not going to wreck Tony Stewart in front of the whole field on the tri-oval. I'm going to avoid the accident because NASCAR made a rule that you know, this could be a questionable situation, and he lost.
Okay, let's think about this for real quickly. How would you like to be up there in the booth trying to make that call?
Not me.
I mean, no matter how they call it, they're going to get it wrong.
Right.
There's no way they can't not. They're going to get it wrong no matter what they do, and they made a decision and stuck with it, and I'm proud of them for it.
All right, let's take a look at the AutoZone point standings. And Greg, so I'm clear, you did not like the call.
I think that Regan should have won and Tony should have got second. I don't think Tony should have been penalized, but they shouldn't have penalized Regan.
All right, take a look at the points, guys. Going into this race, top 3 drivers, including Greg, separated by just 30 points. Jimmy Johnson finishes 9th. 4 Chase drivers finished in the top 10, but 7 finished 20th or worse. When we come back, a Chase profile on Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his spotter. See what the weekend is like from the spotter stand. In just a bit, we'll look at the Talladega highlights or lowlights, depending on your point of view. Plus, all the best scanner audio, including a high-strung Jimmy Johnson after getting through the big one.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Brought to you in part by Bank of America, the official bank of NASCAR, where you can get a choice of NASCAR drivers on your check cards and credit cards. And by Sprint. For more Sprint Cup Series, go to sprint.com/speed. Speed is beautiful.
Chase for the Sprint Cup comes to you with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Dropkick yourself into the drama with live race radio, real-time stats, and live team chatter. Only from Sprint and only on the Now Network.
So our picture of the week, a victorious Tony Stewart in victory lane at the AMP Energy Drink 500 at Talladega. Go to speedtv.com and the Twin homepage to figure out how you can perhaps have that hanging in your home. Put smoke in the subject line. Be sure to include the shipping address in the email and 1 entry per person, please. Well, each week we've been profiling a Chase driver and team. This week, profile is on Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his spotter, TJ Majors. Now, most spotters are relatives, friends, or teammates of the driver, but TJ isn't a relative. It's not a childhood buddy, and they met in a very unusual way. Here's a look at part 1 of the Earnhardt Jr. Chase profile.
Racing on the computers has been a hobby of mine. It's been one of my favorite things to do for years now. And Junior actually had a lot of the same interests. So we ended up racing on the same type of game, and me and him would have so close of races. It was just me and him first and second all the time. See if I can go to the top of the board this lap. I didn't even know who he really was. You know, his name was Dale Jr. 3, but back in 1998, nobody really, who's Dale Jr., you know? We traded setups, and, you know, that led to a couple phone conversations. That led to, hey, you ought to come down and spend a week down here, you know, go to the Charlotte race or something. We just built a really cool friendship off it. My job is to keep him out of trouble and help get the best finish we can get. Talladega and Daytona are really tough. You got to watch 3 cars behind them all the time, who they're getting pushed from, you know, who they're pushing, where they're going, high, low, middle.
You got the 6-1 back there. He's cleared by 5 over the 20 and the 18 there.
Sometimes you need to cheerlead a little bit.
Hey, you're doing it here. Just fine-tune it down here. You'll drive away.
And sometimes you just need to keep his head up.
Same restarts you've been getting all day there. I don't know what you changed after the first ones, but you've been killing them.
I know what I'm getting into when I took that job. And if anything, it's probably helped us grow even a little bit, you know, better friends, just because we've been put in tough times, and making it through them just makes you stronger.
NASCAR Sprint Cup final practice from Talladega.
Got some more help coming here. The 07, 20 are in your lane there now. Still inside there. 01, 07, 20, 66 with you there. Cleared by 1 over the 20. Stay low.
Trouble on the racetrack. Trouble. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr.
You all right? Yeah. Blew it right rear tire.
You got your work cut out Sunday. Now you'll come back and win the race. That's usually the way it goes.
Yeah,
you know?
I know what you're saying.
Usually whenever you have such bad look like that, you turn around and on Sunday's a good day.
It's been a rough day.
Well, I've always had the opinion that the internet was going to end the world, but in this case, it was a good thing. TJ Majors got to race against Dale Jr. They become friends, and now he's a spotter up on top of the stand looking out for Dale Jr. So I really love the video games and the way that these guys are racing online now, because I got on the other day to check it out, and when you're going down the back straightaway at Talladega, on the video game, it's just like you're going down the back straightaway at Talladega. It's a great way to learn racetracks if you don't know them yet.
Did you try that thing at Kansas?
Which?
The Carl, at the end of the race?
Yes.
Where you bounce off the wall?
But I will tell you, when I turned and still had the gas on, I started spinning out.
Your car turned better.
My car was loose. His must have been a little tight.
Yeah.
Well, after this, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s day was going pretty good until the big one. We'll break it all down in part 2 of the Chase Profile. Later, a preview of this weekend's race in Charlotte. Coke 600 in May was very unusual. We'll take a look back. You're watching This Week in NASCAR. This Week in NASCAR is presented by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the 88 team had to change motors and go to a backup car after the practice incident. That meant Jr. would start the Talladega race at the back of the field. Here's part 2 of the Earnhardt Jr. Talladega Chase Profile.
Just the mere mention of the word Talladega to race fans conjures up visions of huge wrecks and wild finishes.
Talk to me, TJ Lee. Get a volume check. I got you. How about you? Hello. Biffle. I appreciate all the hard work on Friday. I was really, really proud to be part of this team. Y'all busted ass. Just how ready it was right out of the trailer. It meant a lot to me. I know hopefully y'all all felt the same way, but this is always a fun one, so I'm looking forward to it. Whatever happens, just keep your head on straight. All right, man. Check and bounce everything one last time here.
500 miles of hold your breath white knuckle stock car racing, folks. This is Talladega.
You ready? Great.
Here they come down the line. Green flag goes in the air, and we are underway.
In the middle, tree wide, in the middle, all clear. Still got help with you. It's 30 in your mirror. He's got the 45 with him.
For you Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans, remember the backup engine in the backup car started at the back of the pack, and there he is, making his way by one. So he's going to try to get there if he could safely early on.
I want to be in the lead now. And I don't want to be here. Doing great, bud.
To the outside they go. Johnson leading that pack. Here's Junior to the outside of Quapple. To the outside of Reagan. The crossover back to the inside of Johnson. Dale Earnhardt Jr. takes the lead at Talladega.
How's that for an Earnhardt? From the last starting spot to the lead in 26 laps at Talladega.
Single file your mirror. Outside at your door. Still there at your bumper. Clear, all clear. You go. Got all the help with you there. Wreck behind you. Keep digging. Come on. Big wreck behind you. Keep digging there. Big wreck behind you. Keep digging. Right, I got you in front of that one. 10-4, good job, buddy. You're doing a hell of a job. Just 42 inside there. 42 inside.
What's this? What a move. Earnhardt Jr. was headed to Birmingham. He and the 8 car are just nailed together at the bumper and the splitter. Those cars just shot to the front.
I want to be in the middle. You want to tell anybody?
I didn't think Dale Jr. was going to want to stay down that bottom. You get down that bottom and you're trapped there. What a close call right there. Woo. Oh, got up front.
Burning, guys. Keep digging there. You're clear low when you get around them. All right, we're done. Sorry. Couldn't do nothing about it. Had a good car, though. Thanks. No problem. Thank you, bud. Done good. Sorry about that. 2 cars, 1 lead. Try not to work so hard on them.
So you see a potentially good day for Dale Earnhardt Jr. winds up in the garage, and he finishes 28th. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights from yesterday's AMP Energy Drink 500. Now, Jimmy Johnson, he said during qualifying, Michael, he was worried about the motor being flat. They dropped to the back, got lapped eventually. That was odd the way that race started for them.
Yeah, but they rebounded. He got the free pass. Oh, there went David Rudiman, and Jeff Gordon just tried to ease his way past Rudiman. That just goes to show you, Steve, how sensitive the steering is on these cars. He just tried to go to the right a little bit. Jeff Gordon's one of the greatest drivers in the history of NASCAR. He couldn't get his car to the left without losing control. Into the wall he goes.
Greg, I don't get it. I've been around a while. You know, David Rudiman, his driver's going down the back stretch, boom, tire blows out. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. That's unusual that you see a tire just blow up. Normally you have a tire blowout on the corner. Hopefully you don't, but we saw 2 tire failures on the straightaway yesterday, which is kind of unusual for these tires, but don't know what's going on with them. If there's debris on the racetrack,
couldn't it be it just got cut?
Yeah,
maybe.
And when here's what you don't understand, Steve. When the pressure gets down low enough, finally it's just going to blow out.
Right.
So to say I don't get it, I don't really agree with that. I think there's a possibility he just ran over something, ran along for a while, and then all of a sudden it didn't have enough air in it to stay together.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean, I'm not pointing a finger at Goodyear. I'm just saying I saw it happen a couple of times, happened to Dale Jr. in practice, and that affected your 44 team, which, by the way, they did a good job getting their car fixed.
As did Dale Jr.'s team, but
right.
the analyzation of what happened in practice was the tailpipes fell off the 8, someone said, or excuse me, fell off the 88. The tailpipes came loose, or a bracket came loose, cut his tire and crashed him. So there's always an explanation.
Yeah.
It isn't just that he was going down the straightaway and a tire was perfect and it blew out. I think he probably ran over something, a slow leak, cut her down. That's what I think.
I think I'm a slow leak. All right, let's move ahead. Lap 68, Brian Vickers blows a tire.
Oh, look how violent
Trouble.
that is.
yeah.
And look how violent all this is.
Martin Truex Jr., Jamie McMurray, Casey Kane, David Gilliland all involved.
Did you see Bobby?
That was tough. I mean, there's a couple guys that made it through there just barely, and the 48 just barely made it through.
It's so fun to watch those afterwards and look at all the guys that barely made it. The 43,
The 31.
I mean, it's amazing, but sometimes it's more luck. You know, you just say, oh, wow, they all moved.
Yep.
Yeah.
I made it. And then you make all your perfect moves, and you're like, I'm the man.
Like happened to you.
Yeah, I did all that.
All right, let's, speaking of which, Mike Wallace, he drove a 4th RCR car. He loses a tire there. And guess who that carcass hits?
Yeah, Mike was looking at all the,
Ooh.
golly, that hit hard. I was looking at all the sheet metal. See, look here, it blows out. There's all kinds of stuff coming at me on the ground, and then I forgot to look. I saw that tire in the air, and I said, surely there ain't no way that's going to hit my car. But my crew did an awesome job. They patched that thing up, and we were able to lead the race with that car.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along. Coming up next, more Talladega highlights. We'll show you how points leader Jimmy Johnson got through the mess of the big one. And after finishing second 6 times at Talladega, Tony Stewart finally wins. The best scanner audio still ahead. You're watching This Week in NASCAR.
This is America, and you have the freedom to cheer.
Number 9,
Idolize.
Dale Jr.
Mr. Jeff Gordon.
Celebrate.
Papa Montoya.
Maybe even get carried away.
Martin Truex Jr., he's the man.
Only Bank of America gives you the freedom to bank with the same kind of passion. With NASCAR banking, your check card, your credit card, your driver. Want to get in on the action? You can with Bank of America. Bank of Opportunity.
Congratulations to Clint Boyer and the number 017 for their precision on pit road, which led them to capturing the Gillette Time Shaver Challenge throughout the chase. Weekly group prizes will be awarded to fans aligned with the Gillette Young Guns driver who spends the least amount of time on pit road. 10 lucky fans will win the chance to compete in a driving competition led by Gillette Young Guns. For more, go to GilletteTimeShaver.com. All right, now let's move ahead and take a look at some of the other highlights at Talladega. As Michael said, there was a lot to talk about. Denny Hamlin leading hard into the wall on lap 98. Good news about that, he was released from the hospital today in Alabama.
Had to spend the night for observations, but Denny's fine, and that's good news because that looked like a terrible crash.
Yeah, that was a hard hit. I could tell when right when you saw it.
Now this was pretty amazing.
Yep, Kevin Harvick gets turned.
Right in the middle of the field, nobody hits him.
Well, it's like you guys said, there's so many close calls, it's almost hard to document all of them.
Well, and one thing...
There was that right there just showed us how it can happen, because he hit the 31.
Yeah.
So...
And it got all locked out.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But here's what happens, Steve. Things have gotten more and more aggressive. We're racing harder now than we ever have before. We are so lucky to have this new car. The bumpers matching up like they do prevent wreck after wreck after wreck. Every now and then, Greg got turned around, Kevin got turned around. You'll have that, but there's 100 wrecks that are saved by the new car.
Yeah.
Dale Jarrett made the point that as intense as racing is at Talladega, the later it gets ratcheted up even more.
That's like everybody calms down a little bit, you know, for a while, and then they know that when there's 10 or 15 to go, you got to throw your chips in. You push all in, and you say, I'm going to go get me some of this, and that's what everybody was doing when this big crash happened.
Time now for the Sprint Monster Moment highlight. And that's what the action looked like on the track. Flames, sparks everywhere. Lap 173, there Carl Edwards gets into the back of Greg Biffle.
Look at some of those guys that were fortunate enough to make it.
Second wreck way up there.
Yeah. Jimmy Johnson just snuck right through the middle of it.
This is from Jimmy's bumper camera. He gets tagged by the 6, David Reagan.
He makes it too, and just right there behind David was Mike. David made it, Mike didn't. Juan Pablo was leading the race. Check this spot shadow out. This is great. A great view. Barely.
And there you're clear low when you get around them.
And they're still trying to wreck him, but he makes it. And that's your championship leader. That's how inches sometimes mean the difference between leading the points and being third or fourth, which he would have been if he had been in the crash.
You got to be lucky, and you got to be good.
That's right.
He was both.
Exactly. Time now for the Enterprise turning point of the race. Another look at the last lap. Tony Stewart leading, Regan Smith and Paul Menard.
What a great move by Regan. I mean, he did everything he knew to do, and he used all that was there, but NASCAR just felt like part of it they didn't need to be using.
If you look back at that camera a little bit, you can see from this camera shot here at the end, you can see the checkered flag. You can see back there a ways. I believe you can see the checkered flag from there.
Yeah, it's close. Maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. I'm not going to make that call.
Monday evening quarterback question. Couldn't Paul Menard have gone with Regan Smith teammates and gotten a better run or an earlier run on Tony to try to make a difference?
It's just subjective. I mean, you don't know what those guys are going through. You're trying. You know, sometimes you think you can. If Regan lays off Tony sooner, maybe rolls out of the gas, knowing he's got his teammate, that's what you got to do. You got to try to get a gap and let Tony get out there a little bit. Yeah. If he believed, if he made that move and backed off Tony and Paul would stay with him and push him, then yes. But darn, isn't that risky? Paul Menard's never won a race. Regan's up there trying to win a race for the first time. He's like, and I'm going to let off the gas? Is that what I'm supposed to do? I read about this, but I'm not sure I'm ready to do it yet. But that's how you have to make a move at Talladega, and that's what Regan didn't do. And then at the very end, finally enough momentum to make the move.
You mean they don't have the racer's handbook that they hand out?
No, you don't. And
if you're in this situation,
right. Michael's right, because when we were coming off the corner, when Carl and I made that run, I stepped on the brake and backed up a little bit, and Carl hit me, you know, going down straight down the backstretch, and that's when he got locked on my bumper and gave me that big shove. Is sometimes you got to let off. And to get that bigger push.
Well, as you've seen from these guys, a lot of intensity, a lot of emotion. We heard from Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the scanner. Let's hear from some of the other racers.
Here they come down to the line. Green flag goes in the air, and we are underway. Racing down into turn number 1 with restrictor plate engines. Remember, it takes a while to wind these things up.
You know, I know you're probably doing fine there, but I don't want to lose the driver completely. Believe me, I'm trying. Think about asking her teammates to come get us. We're just going to have to wait for a caution, but nobody's going to come back this far. We're pretty well screwed here. Got to spin behind us. Got to spin behind us. Caution's out. Before had a problem over. I think he had a tire problem, too. On the hood of the 48 if you want to see it. Trouble. We blew a right front, guys. We blew a right front. You okay, Denny? 11 blew a right front and freaking pasted the wall harder than you can imagine. We're about done gambling on these 2-tire programs. We're going to put 4 tires on it here. Not hit a thing. Stay right around dead last from here on out. You have no idea how lucky we are. I mean, I'm telling you what, we better still think lucky too, because it's not over.
Here they come into the tri-oval. Tony Stewart hoping to finally go to victory lane at Talladega Super Speedway. Regan Smith dives to the inside of the track. He's got the advantage coming down to the line. At the stripe, Regan Smith is going to score the upset.
There ain't no way, man. He was below the yellow line. He didn't win this. Where's my official? They're not going to give that to the 01, or they went below the yellow line to pass him, so they can't give that to him. Can't blame him for trying. Hell, I'd have done it too.
20's the winner. The 20 is the winner. Victory lane, baby.
All right, guys, we finally got us one at Talladega. Woo!
Well, certainly a lot of interesting conversation there. I like the 2-tire, 4-tire deal. We, for safety, put on 4 tires every time because track position wasn't that big of a deal at Talladega. Some other guys elected to do 2, try and keep up front and keep all their track position. But there again, at the end, big controversy on whether, you know, you could see the checkered flag. Was he forced below the line? You know, all kinds of things can happen there. Tony did what he needed to do. Tony forced him down there to block. So I think that, you know, it's any man's game.
Michael, quick comment from you. Last week, we missed you, by the way. You weren't here. But
I missed y'all, too.
Thanks. But Greg said, you know what? When you go to Talladega, there's a certain inevitability about it. Whatever happens, you just kind of shrug your shoulders and go.
But wasn't it great? The intensity, the action all day long. Can't you wait till the drivers' meeting next spring at Talladega? Now, tell me about this checker flag under the yellow line rule. I want to make sure I'm clear about this.
Yeah, I think that might come up. Well, coming up next, all the NASCAR teams tested at Lowe's Motor Speedway last month. We'll take a look. Plus, Charlotte is a hometown race for many of the drivers and crews. A full preview of the only night race in the chase coming up.
The Monster Moment has been brought to you by Sprint. For more Sprint Cup Series, go to sprint.com/speed. Speed is beautiful.
Since you guys taught me to drive, I'm going to teach you to wrestle. This is a body slam. Not bad. These guys are phenomenal.
Start every day with Gillette Fusion Power Phenom. With Gillette's most comfortable shave, you'll feel phenomenal. Gillette Fusion Power Phenom, the only razor used by the Gillette Young Guns.
For even more comfort, use Gillette Fusion Hydrogel. Comfortable?
This week in NASCAR is presented by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. And a look at what we have for you this weekend at Lowe's Motor Speedway. NASCAR Live on Friday, 2:30 Eastern, NASCAR trackside. Jessica Simpson's going to drop by, boys.
It's great.
You boys are going to be full of yourselves, aren't you?
Hammond. I'm scared about Hammond. NASCAR in a hurry on Saturday. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot. Remember, it's a night race. And on Sunday, the ARCA REMAX Series is in Toledo, and NASCAR Victory Lane wraps up everything.
That Toledo race is going to wind up the ARCA Championship, still in question. That's going to be good TV on Speed on Sunday.
Yeah. You're not doing it, are you?
No, but I'm going to be watching.
Okay, all right.
Got Scott Speed going against Frank Kimmel. And
Michael's a promo machine. Anyways, a few weeks ago, big test at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at how the teams prepared for this weekend's race.
1 and 2 is pretty good. I had good grip. I could really charge the throttle and be aggressive. I'm tight through the center of 3.
Probably make this run, which I think this is going to be a good compromise. I think I'd be happy with it, and then we'll put up on some scales and switch back to where we unload and see how it feels.
We got some laps in. We're just trying some big packages, seeing where things are at. This track changes so much from day to night. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. The car's been pretty loose, which we'd expect, and we don't want to tighten it up too much.
It certainly did tighten the car up 1 and 2. I can still get loose to show up every once in a while down there. But it improved 1 and 2. 3 and 4 was still very similar.
The thing that you've got to really work on here is a long run setup and a short run setup. So it's difficult. It really is.
We unloaded with the All-Star and Coca-Cola 600 setup in the car. I figured that was a great place to start since we finished second at both those events. And the car is super easy to drive, and it has a lot of speed. So I'm pretty happy about that.
What was that like there? It's all right. It's quite a bit loose entering like turn 1. And it's got got a general understeer, but if it's not understeer, the front's very positive.
I mean, it's just getting used to everything, getting used to working with the team. The cars are pretty good here. I think we're pretty competitive. Yeah, it's just getting in the role of working with all the Cup guys.
Take a look at the testing from September 23rd and 24th. Jeff Gordon was the fastest on the second day. Greg Biffle was fastest on the first day. Those are overall times. And I'm curious, what did you guys learn? How is that track different, Michael, than it was Memorial Day weekend?
It didn't seem a whole lot different.
No,
we tested into the evening. It seemed a whole lot alike. I don't think that any factor at all. What I did find interesting, Greg, we learned a couple of things at Charlotte that we carried over to Kansas, and it seemed like, in fact, left front spring and some coil binding on that side and some bump stops on that side. Things that worked at Charlotte worked at Kansas, and so I think a lot of people use that Charlotte test as to say, okay, this is a chase test. You guys are thinking this will work at Charlotte, this will work at Kansas, maybe Atlanta, maybe Texas. So it was a very opportune time to have that test.
Greg, you were second there in May, had a good run in the All-Star race. Maybe a better question is not how the track is different, but how the car is different, all that you've learned since Memorial Day.
Yeah, we went back with the same setup and started out exactly the same way we ran the All-Star race and the Coca-Cola 600, and the car was very fast right off the truck like that, and then we adjusted on it some. We felt like we made some gains on it, but the same thing Michael said, I think we learned a few trends that helped us at Kansas and is going to help us at Texas and hopefully this weekend.
Time now for the Peak Performance Profile presented by Castrol GTX.
We got a lot of sponsors.
That's a good thing.
Castrol sponsor Monster Moment.
We have boys back at the shop. We have that's important.
I'm presented by Napa. Did I mention that?
You have Enterprise Turning Point.
Oh, I love the Enterprise Turning Point because that
75 to 9,500 though this weekend.
That means you're dropping way down, and you won't really have a hanging RPM, nothing sustained. It'll pretty much just be up and down, wouldn't you say?
That's right.
Spiking. Spiky.
Look at this line, though. That's what's fun about Charlotte, huh, Greg? You can run high, you can run low.
You can run anywhere. Across the middle. Across the middle's, great, has a lot I grip.
Look at Jeff. Dive to the bottom, Dale Jr. to the top, then look where Jeff winds up to the top with Dale Jr.
I don't know if I should mention this. Jimmy Johnson, 5 wins at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and he's led over 1,100 laps. From both of them. When we come back, Casey Kane swept the races at Charlotte in May. He's sure to be looking forward to the race Saturday night. Plus, Tony Stewart almost won the Coke 600 until a tire went down in the closing laps. You're watching This Week in NASCAR.
The Peak Performance Profiles have been brought to you by Castrol GTX. Stop sludge in its tracks with superior sludge protection.
That's the spot right up there. Set it down. Good job. What's a beer? Grab me a beer. That's what I'm talking about. Incredible game.
The world's hottest sport meets the world's most refreshing beer. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the official beer of NASCAR.
Makeover? What about you? Need a new style? Just go to NASCAR.com/makeover and enter the ultimate NASCAR Performance Makeover Sweepstakes today.
Casey Kane was a bit of a surprise in winning the All-Star race at Lowe's Motor Speedway in May, but you know what? He backed it up the next weekend and won the Coca-Cola 600.
The Coca-Cola 600 is the longest race in NASCAR. It's 400 laps here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway.
We're getting set to go green flag racing.
And we've got trouble. A car spinning and slamming the outside wall. And that wheel has bounced to the inside and, in fact, on top of a camper.
As the sun sets, we've still got a lot of racing left to go in the Coca-Cola 600. Green flag out.
Junior gets hit.
J.J. Yaley and Junior in the wall.
Blood right front tire, I think.
You've got cars spinning at the start-finish line. As we go back to green, we immediately go back to yellow.
Tony Stewart came back on the racetrack nearly a third of a lap ahead of Casey Kane. And a fly right front.
Casey Kane thought he was going to finish second. Casey Kane is going to back up his win in last week's All-Star race with a victory in the Coca-Cola 600.
Take a look at the top 10 finishers as we mentioned. Greg Biffle right behind Casey Kane, and a bunch of chase drivers up there. Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., just about all chasers. Carl Edwards also, and I forgot, Rudy Rudiger was in the top 10.
Yeah, I ran right around the wall, right around the top all day long. I felt like it was a chip off the old block.
I was going to say, that's reminiscent.
That's where I like to go if I can.
Will you do it again Saturday night?
Yes. Yes.
This is your favorite segment, weather.
Oh,
now,
what, 10%?
Greg, what we've learned
40%.
Here's what Michael does. He doesn't say 40% chance of rain. He says it's a 60% chance that it won't rain.
Wouldn't you rather say that?
I would. So I did.
And then on Friday and Saturday, 70% chance of sun.
Right. Or there won't be any precip at least.
How about, I like the weather. The temperature is nice. Love it. Hey, anybody out there want free gas? I do. Aaron's has a sweet deal for you. Greg just raised his hand. Make any qualified purchase or lease from Aaron's between now and October 31st, and you'll receive $600 in free gas from the company of your choice. Visit shopaarons.com for more details. That's your boys, Michael.
I love shopping at Aaron's. I got me a nice TV there the other day, and I'm not making that up. I couldn't afford to buy one, so I leased it.
We'll be right back to Charlotte.
As the ultimate Texas Motor Speedway fan, I'm here to tell you reasons why you can't miss the Dickies 500. Reason number 88, Junior Nation.
She's fast, she's mean, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys!
What more reason do you need?
Get your tickets to the Dickies 500. Call 888-816-8671 or visit TexasMotorSpeedway.com.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Next Monday night at this time, Michael and Greg will be back. The profile, though, will be on Jimmy Johnson.
So are we're promoting our own show during our own show?
Well, you got to. You've got to.
Well, can we get some other people to do it, too? That's pretty neat. We'll do it.
I'll get Larry Mack on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, NASCAR's history coincides with the tracks on which they race. Tracks like Daytona, Talladega, Richmond, Darlington, Martinsville. But one track sets itself apart. One Howard Augustine Wheeler tells us how the beast of the Southeast came into its own.
As most of you know, I ran Lowe's Motor Speedway, or Charlotte, for 33 years. And I guess that kind of made me an expert on the place. Charlotte, like Atlanta and Daytona Speedways, really had no chance of survival in its infancy back in the early 1960s. Back then, when you wanted to build a speedway, first of all, people thought you were completely nuts. And even if they had the faith, banks didn't lend money to these kind of ventures for any reason. Bruton Smith and legendary racer Curtis Turner lost the track to bankruptcy soon after it was opened. Bruton eventually got it back, and he and I built it into what other people called the Taj Mahal of NASCAR in the late 80s and 90s. The reason it was called that was because the track was way ahead of its time. Back even as early as the 80s, most tracks were truly still dilapidated. Charlotte broke out of that mold like the first rocket to the moon. It was the first track to build proper VIP suites, the first track to have a club, and the first track to be lit, the first super speedway to be lit. And what I'm most proud of is the improvements we made to make it more fan-friendly. Not spectacular stuff, but things like clean bathrooms, clean concessions, getting people in and out traffic-wise pretty fast, and a friendly staff and a ton of value-added entertainment. Charlotte, now Lowe's Motor Speedway, is still the sentimental favorite because it's in the heart of NASCAR country and has the tradition of a Wrigley Field or Augusta. But my favorite part was the pre-race shows we held, which were a wild array of everything from school bus jumps to war reenactments. Well, you know, doing the pre-race shows was fun, but the real fireworks started when the green flag dropped. And there was one predictable thing about Lowe's Motor Speedway, and that was it was totally unpredictable. There's never been a driver that didn't have total focus when he was going around that racetrack, because if he didn't, the beast of the Southeast would rise up and swallow him.
You know, I made my Cup debut the first time I ever ran one of those races back in '85 at Lowe's Motor Speedway. And the thing that I love most about that track, sure, it's great that the fans have a good time there, and it's a fun place to come and enjoy a race. But my favorite part is just driving that track. I mean, it's a mile and a half. It's been the same since the first day I ever went on it. The groove's been low, the groove's been high. It's had some issues, as all tracks do, but it's a fun track to drive on.
And what's significant about Lowe's Motor Speedway, Greg, Daytona may be headquartered in, or NASCAR may be headquartered in Daytona, but this entire industry has built up around that racetrack. Your shops are about 5 miles from there.
Absolutely. I think a lot of race shops are around that place, and everybody calls it home because this is where all of our race shops are. It's our home track, and we care a lot about it.
It's time now to remind you that we have bonus exclusive content on NASCAR.com of This Week in NASCAR. For this week's exclusive clip, go to NASCAR.com. Michael Waltrip will unbutton his shirt.
Where do you find that at? Is there a link?
NASCAR.com.
Is there a
Yes.
Yeah,
there's an icon and front page, and you click
Does
on
it say
it.
twin?
Yeah.
Hey, you want this hair?
Picture?
I was going to say this hair of Tony. This picture of Tony's hair.
His hair's all drenched. Now here's a link.
It's a little bit like his monkey.
He looks like Eddie Munster.
SpeedTV.com. Put smoke in the subject line, and you got a picture of his hair.
It's like Eddie Munster.
Kyle Busch leading the field. They're 3 wide.
Now the chase for the Sprint Cup comes to you with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Dropkick yourself into the drama with live race radio, real-time stats, and live team chatter. Only from Sprint and only on the Now Network.
Jimmy? Casey? Dale? Yeah, man. Let's rock.
When you're Hendrick Motorsports, every race is a battle. And every win comes with Q Motor Oil technology. And there's a Q horsepower specially designed to help maximize the power.
In your car.
Unleash all your horses.
Biggest fan of NASCAR? Prove it. Go to NASCARBiggestFan.com to vote or upload your video.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Brought to you in part by Z-Max, performance you can feel. And by Ford, drive one.
Bonus content, another email. Why did Carl Edwards pour water on his lap and then toss the bottle out the window? Why is it other drivers get penalized for tossing roll bar padding out, but Carl's tossing of water bottles isn't even commented on? Who wants to field that?
I don't think this is any issue. Possibly he urinated himself, and now he's just diluting it with some water to make sure he doesn't get all stained down there, and he just gets rid of the bottle. No big deal. You know what? One of my favorite things that I've seen lately on TV?
What?
Wait till they come back on TV and show me. When Kevin Harvick goes, maybe she's trying another girlfriend, or...
Maybe she ought to just, you know what I like is when you and Ron Capps are in that commercial and you say, the RM42 doesn't... I can't even look at you right now.
Kevin Harvick goes, maybe you should try another girlfriend. What?
Just saying.
I love that.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Greg, can you improve from second to first this weekend?
Well, I don't know. I think we're going to have a good run. Our car was good in testing, and I'm looking forward to the race. I think we're going to be right there. If keep her going straight, keep all the fenders on it, I think we'll be good.
Coming up next, big shots. Titans at the tee. Watch how far Elliott Sadler can hit a golf ball. He can smoke them. So can Michael Waltrip, though.
No, I'm sneaky short.
I may be short, but I am slow.
I enjoyed it, Steve.
I loved it.